All right, so the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Daytona happened, and I'll be honest with you, it was a really good race. I could just end the review right there. It was a really good race. All right, see ya. I'm joking around. I'm obviously going to talk about it. The NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Daytona was definitely one that I would recommend, watching like later on, or if you weren't able to see it, going ahead and watch it. It was a pretty good race from start to finish. Had a little bit of bad points. Well, not bad, but just kind of like, boring points here and there, uh, you know, as the race kind of continued on. But other than that, the race was pretty good, all things considered. We'll start off with the first stage, obviously, because we do that every single time, or I'm going to start doing that. So, first stage, not a whole lot ended up happening. A few things happened in the first stage. One of them was pretty early on. Bailey Curry ended up bringing out the first caution of the race, and it didn't really. Nobody really knew what it was. But some smoke started bellowing out the back of his car, and originally everybody, I thought that it was like a tire blowout or whatever. But in actuality, he ended up blowing an engine, which sucks immensely for him. But that ended up happening. He ended up bringing out the first caution. Go back racing. It's still pretty good until you get closer to the end of stage number one, and this was the part of the race where my heart broke for Daniel Hemrick. And the reason why is because he ended up getting caught up in a wreck with another driver called Blaine Perkins in the 07, and yeah, it was very 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 unfortunate for the both of them. Blaine Perkins was basically about to be passed, or not passed, but he was just staying in line and everything like that, trying to stay with the field, with the pack and everything. And good old Sam Mayer ended up taking actions into his own hands and ended up hooking Blaine Perkins in the left rear, which then sent Perkins into Hemrick. Damaged both of their cars pretty good. And unfortunately, that ended up taking out Daniel Hemrick and Blaine Perkins. And I believe there was somebody else that ended up getting taken out in the incident. No, it was just those two. Okay. Now, for some reason, someone else got involved in that incident. But yeah, it was just Blaine Perkins and Daniel Hemrick. Um, just Sam Ayer trying to make a move and trying to go for a gap that really isn't there. And unfortunately, he ended up taking out two drivers. So Sam Mayer is a good driver. He's not like the best or anything like that, but he's good, from time to time, obviously. But he can make, stupid decisions and everything. And well, this wreck in the first stage was definitely one of the stupidest ones that he's ever made. But they go back racing, and Austin Hill ended up winning the first stage later on. Now, a quick thing about Austin Hill is that Austin Hill, before the race even started, came down pit road because he had radio issues. And Austin Hill was actually able to get it fixed and everything, but he ended up losing his first position and instead ended up starting last, which sucked for him. So yeah, Austin Hill wasn't able to start on pole, but in 5 laps he drove himself up from dead last to 13th. Yeah, and then he goes up from there and he ends up winning the first stage. And that ended up it almost ended up being a crash between him and Justin Allgaier, where he made a really, really late block, but where he got just in front of Allgaier in the nick of time to where a wreck wouldn't happen, and instead it was just a little contact between the two. So it was a little bit scary, but nonetheless, it was a pretty entertaining first stage, and with a few people and everything like that. So with a few people involved in wrecks and whatnot. So not 100% bad, but it is safe to say that stage one pretty good. I'd have to say. Then we go on ahead and get into stage number two. The stages in this race was mainly dominated by two drivers. Those two drivers being Austin Hill and Justin Allgaier. And in the second stage, it was mainly dominated by them as well again. And yeah, so it was pretty good. It was still some good racing until an incident ended up happening, and the incident that ended up happening was obviously towards the front, or not obviously, but it was towards the front of the pack, and I can't remember who it was, but I think it was Parker Kligerman. He was drafting with Sheldon Creed, and he ended up hooking Sheldon Creed into the wall. Uh, Parsons ended up getting involved in it, and one of the dominant cars, Justin Allgaier, ended up getting involved in the incident as well. So not not great for Allgaier, but he does end up coming back later on in stage number two. Uh, Parsons and Sheldon Creed unfortunately were knocked out of the race due to that incident, which sucks, especially for Sheldon Creed, considering the fact that he tried still very hard last season to get a win. Couldn't do it, and tries again, or tried. He came close this time around, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to, um, you know, even get near the win. Unfortunately, which sucks. But that is what happened there. Allgaier was able to continue. Creed and Parsons, however, were not, and that is essentially how that all came to be for that incident. It seemed like Austin Hill had some damage in the incident. It wasn't too much for him to be knocked out or anything like that, but it was definitely big for the two drivers that were the most dominant, which was Justin Allgaier and Austin Hill. Race gets back underway. A few different drivers up near the front, but one of the main drivers of stage number two was obviously Justin Allgaier. Allgaier ended up coming from basically dead last, where he, had to go because he had to fix damage and everything. But he ended up coming from dead last, and he got to the lead. The adjustments his team had made to his car were not to any of his liking, unfortunately. And he was a little bit free towards the end, and you can obviously see it in the car and everything that he was a little bit free towards the end of stage number two. But he did end up taking the lead. He ended up winning the second stage. So basically, the playing field was set between two drivers, Austin Hill versus Justin Allgaier, and one of those two was going to win today. The defending Daytona winner from 2022, and then the driver that has yet to win at Daytona. But it's going to come down to those two. But the entire field wants to get rid of them because they have been so quick. And that's like one of the main things that everybody has been trying to do the whole race up to this point, is trying to get rid of the 21 and the 7, and they just haven't been able to the best of their ability. Race gets back underway. Again, the two people that are the main topic of really just this whole race is, of course, Austin Hill and not AJ Allmendinger. I almost just said AJ Allmendinger, but Austin Hill and Justin Allgaier. They go back racing. A few laps go by. They end up coming down pit road with 45 laps to go. And this was at the point where they thought that there would be no overtime in the race, so they thought that they could get some fuel in and be okay. And they wouldn't have to do like overtime or whatever, but their fuel would last themselves all the way until the end of the race without overtime, which is kind of something you gotta worry about is about the overtime, because you have no idea if it'll happen, and when it does, it sucks. Trust me. But they all come down pit road. The first group comes down, and Parker Kligerman ends up getting it all out of shape. Parker Kligerman was a menace apparently this race, but he ended up spinning coming onto pit road with the first group of cars. He was able to not hit the wall or anything or do a full 360 and cause a caution. He only spun on his side, so wasn't anything big, but he needed a caution to help out with that. More pit stops happen. The second big group comes in. I think it was just mainly all Fords. And then there was a final group that came in, which was just contested of 3 people. A few laps go by, and then a caution comes out for CJ McLaughlin. And that is evident, and that is what caused the second yellow, and then nothing big happened or anything. Well, actually, no, something big did happen. CJ McLaughlin, CJ McLaughlin, he ended up, I think, getting loose at some point coming out of turn number 4, and he ended up spinning down near the pits and ended up slamming the inside wall, which unfortunately Took him out of the race. It was a big hit. Thankfully, he was okay, and nothing big happened. So nothing big happened to him. Race gets back underway with 26 laps to go. Josh Berry is now the leader with Austin Hill and Justin Allgaier behind him. Mainly looking to be between Austin Hill and just the Ford Junior Motorsports drivers, which is going to be a big deal. Race goes by. Unfortunately, with around 20 to go, the field gets into a single file line. Later on in the race, with I think around like maybe close to 10 to go, Brett Moffitt ended up getting a flat tire that didn't show it, but he did end up getting a flat tire. He had to come down and pit, and it was all he came out all right. Unfortunately, he went a lap down, and that sucks for him considering the fact that he hasn't had the greatest career um in NASCAR really ever since he won that title. But he came down pit road, he got it all serviced and everything. And then coming to 4 laps to go, Austin Hill came on the radio and he said that he had a bad vibration. And basically, this is basically the driver's opportunity to come to 4 to go and make a move. Coming to 4 to go, Justin Allgaier made a move on his teammate, Sam Mayer in the 1. Not Sam Mayer. Justin Allgaier ended up making a move on his teammate, Josh Berry, in the 8 to get into 2nd. Austin Hill ended up blocking the move. It looked to be all good until they come down the back straightaway, and then Brandon Jones ends up getting turned behind. And this is the part where it gets a little bit hectic, I guess you can say. So, caution comes out close to the end of the race, which means there's going to be overtime, and the teams did not think about the fuel situation. Drivers are trying to save fuel. Josh Berry, unfortunately, ends up running out of fuel. Justin Allgaier is trying to save fuel, and so is Austin Hill, because again, they're the 2 most dominant cars, so they kind of have to do it, but every single team or every single driver essentially has to do the exact same thing. So they're all saving fuel and all that stuff. We get back underway, which is the one and only overtime that they ended up doing. Austin Hill had the lead for a little bit. Justin Allgaier ended up taking the lead after the green flag had come out for the overtime. He ended up getting a push from Mayer, and due to that, he was now the race leader. But they were coming to the white flag, and this was basically the last lap where anything goes, essentially. So they come off, so they get to the white flag, and Allgaier has a way too big of lead on the field. They end up catching him pretty quickly, and Sam Mayer gets a really, really, really big run on his teammate Justin Allgaier. He goes to the outside to try to make a move. Allgaier does his best to keep him, with him or next to him as best he can, like I said. And unfortunately for Sam Mayer, it did not end well as Austin Hill ended up having a run, and he ended up getting into it with Austin Hill. He ended up getting into it with Austin Hill. He ended up getting spun around and flipped upside down, and that's what ended. And essentially, the caution came out on the final lap on the back straightaway, and it effectively ended the race. Now, the catch to this is there were 3 drivers that were out in front or battling for the lead by the time the caution came out. Those being Austin Hill, Justin Allgaier, and John Hunter Nemechek. The replay shows that it may just come down between Austin Hill and Justin Allgaier because John Hunter Nemechek went below the yellow line. So you would think that, he wouldn't be in the equation, but he still was. Some time goes by. They're kind of, figuring out, the Sam Mayer incident. And again, it was scary. It was unfortunate. But thankfully, he was A-okay. He was all right, and there wasn't anything too much to worry about. But that's what happened. Later, a few minutes go by, and it is confirmed that Austin Hill is the race winner. And just like Zane Smith on Friday, he was able to win the back-to-back season opener races at Daytona, and he got his 3rd career win that way. And he is the 2nd driver out of the 3 guys that won Daytona last year to win back-to-back at Daytona. So, Austin Hill ended up winning it. A lot of people were frustrated at Sam Mayer this race. A lot of people were frustrated at, Parker Kligerman, which another thing I forgot to mention is within those final 20 laps, Parker Kligerman actually made a move on Jeffrey Earnhardt, and Jeffrey Earnhardt, who was still in front of Parker Kligerman. Parker Kligerman decided to go up and end up putting Jeffrey Earnhardt into the wall, and that unfortunately kind of killed Jeffrey's race again, unfortunately. But Parker Kligerman wasn't really able to finish the race that well anyway, so Parker Kligerman and Sam Mayer were like the two villains of this race, and the two guys you wanted to beat today was, or in this race was Justin Allgaier and Austin Hill. And unfortunately, Austin Hill still came out on top as per usual. So, what can I say about this race? It was good. I liked it. However, when the field got single file from 20 laps ago until 4 laps ago, it really kind of took away from the overall good feeling of the race, I guess you can say. Again, it was still a good race. Still liked it. I still thought it was good. Definitely different from like the typical Xfinity races that you would normally get, where the field is like single file, or you get like a 2021 Daytona 500 race, where basically the whole race, you know, the entire field is single file the whole race, and then you have, you know, people on Twitter defending it because they're trying to save fuel, even though that's the dumbest excuse ever in the whole wide world. So at least it was for 20 laps and not the whole race, like kind of a typical Xfinity Series race. It kind of is like that. Other times, though, it is actually pretty good. In this case, it was good. So that's what I can say about it. So what would I give, what rating would I give this race? I would definitely give this race an 8 out of 10. And that 8 out of 10 is basically, you know, the race was good from the start all the way until the final 20 laps happened, and then the last, I guess you can say, from 4 to go to the end of the race with a caution. Those are the good parts. However, from 20 laps ago to 4 laps ago, it was not the greatest. I feel like if they weren't single file for those few laps and they just had some good racing, then, I mean, it'd probably get like a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, you know? There was a lot of good battles, a lot of good racing, not as many wrecks, which is always good to have, not to have like stupid amounts of wrecks. Surprisingly enough, there was no big ones, even though there probably could have been a dozen, but everyone had talent and no big ones happened. So that's my review of the Daytona race at, you know, for the Xfinity. That is my review for the Xfinity Series race at Daytona. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What kind of rating would you give this race? Yes, it's 1 point higher than the truck race. Again, like I said in the truck race review, it was hampered by rain. This race wasn't. However, the single file bullshit kind of killed it. But yeah, so good race all around. I do feel like this race was, or could have been, a little bit better without the final, you know, 20 laps or anything like that. Like, if they were just single file for like 10 laps, probably would have been a 9 out of 10 rather than like an 8 out of 10. But, you know, they do what they got to do. If they want to save fuel, they want to save fuel. That's their decision, not mine. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think, and I will see you all in the next one. I'll see you all tomorrow for the Cup race review at Daytona. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification button down below for more. I'll see you all tomorrow for the Cup race at Daytona, the Cup review race at Daytona, and give a breakdown of it, give my thoughts and opinions on it. It might be quick, like this one. It might be quite a bit long, like the truck one and the LA Coliseum one. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think of it. All right, I'm gonna go eat because I am fucking hungry. Thank you guys so much. My name is Chris. I'm also going to say peace out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Love you guys, and goodbye.